the room is quite increasing. We'll be looking forward to more joining us soon. So today, team management. And I believe that specifically for those who are in the HR sector and even in leadership, occupying leadership positions in different companies, I believe that we are going to benefit a lot from today's HR roundtable. I'm not the moderator of today's event today. So Tomilola, are you here with us? Hello? Tomilola, you have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, Tommy.
You're back online.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, dear executive students. Good afternoon to our panelists this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone from our executive students, International Human Resources Management, MBA students, Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and our new students, the March 2021 intake. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I see Dr. Mike, I see I see Mr. Haruna Moses from Marketing and Sales. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Tomilola, and I'm the Senior Enrollment Coordinator. And a very good afternoon to our special guest this afternoon, Mr. Gbemiga. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Tomilola.
Yes.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. So nice to have you here. So quickly, without much ado, our program for today, of course, the HR Roundtable, Managing Productivity at the Workplace. And I would like to introduce a special guest that we have here today, Mr. Gbemiga Owolabi. So let me just read his profile quickly. For those of you that do not know him, Mr. Gbemiga Owolabi is the Organization and Human Resources Director for Lafarge Africa PLC. Mr. Gbemiga has led the HR function for multinational organizations in various geographies, including Nigeria, United Kingdom, and East Africa. He has over 28 years of experience spanning HR strategy formulation, international HR, talent management, employee engagement, capability development, HR business partnering, and enterprise transformation in FMCGs, oil and gas, and telecommunication industrial sectors. He was the HR manager for Leonard Nigeria PLC, capability development manager for Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company in Nigeria, the HR manager, BG Exploration and Production Nigeria Limited, HR manager for Dragon LN Wales, United Kingdom, a joint company and Petronas of Malaysia. He was also the head of HR and admin for BG East Africa, comprising Kenya, Tanzania, and Madagascar business assets. And lately, the Human Resources Director for Airtel Networks, Nigeria. Okay, Mr. Gbemiga also holds a BSc and MSc degrees in International Relations and Personnel Management, University of Lagos, and an MBA Marketing, University of Ife, also known as Obafemi Awolowo University. He's an alumnus, Advanced Management Program, AMP 19, of Lagos Business School, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Nigeria, and has completed various executive development and human resources programs, both locally and overseas. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Gbemiga this afternoon. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gbemiga, are you there?
Yes, please. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Because I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. If you can hear me, I think we've lost Tomilola, so I'll just hold on. Maybe she can come back and let us know how she wants to run this program. Since you can hear me, it's okay, and I'll just wait for her to come back.
Hello, can you all hear me now? Mr. Gbemiga, can you hear me now?
Yes, I mean, look, I can hear you perfectly. So,
Okay.
good afternoon.
About that, I experienced a bit. Good afternoon once again. I'm sorry I logged out. I experienced a bit of technical challenge. Okay, so workforce productivity management is what we will be talking about today. And we have a couple of questions that we have just to clarify, what workforce productivity management is all about. Since the pandemic, 2020, March, about this time last year, so many organizations shut down, and working remotely has also been the new normal for most organizations. So we're talking about, workforce productivity cuts across different sectors, different industries as well, and also know how we can increase productivity and drive productivity for those that work remotely. So I'll be diving into the questions right about now, sir. Are we okay?
Yes, please, let's move.
Okay, thank you so much. So the first question I have here is, what is your definition of workforce productivity management?
Okay, thanks, Tomilola. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here again. I think the last time I was at Rome Business School was a physical presentation at the school, but it's good to be here. But I always try as much as possible to use practical examples anyway, instead of I don't have a doctorate in business administration yet, so I can't be doing all the definitions, which I'm very sure all the students must have gone through anyway. But if I really want to look at workforce productivity management, I'll probably look at it from from the idea that productivity is all about creating values. Okay, so how do you add value to the organization that you are working in, and how do you turn resources into sales? How do you turn resources into revenue? How do you turn resources into something that you can take from one destination to the other, and that someone can appreciate that this is happening? And what is that value that you're looking at? That value will essentially consist of, I can now make profit. So I put in resources and then I'm making profit. My market capitalization is improving. My market share is improving. The quality of our product is improving. maybe for the telco business, well, our customers are satisfied in terms of what we do, and we are running an efficient organization or efficient services to a client. So that is the value that you are adding. So when you look at productivity, is that value that employees, because we are talking about the workforce now, the employees are actually creating for the company. And where you now start digging into it, you need to now start looking at, you want to assess and you want to set targets, an expectation for your employees so that it's easier for you to empower them and then put them in the right enabling environment for you to measure their output in line with the business objectives. You want to look at, I want to evaluate, I want to manage, I want to develop my employees so that their inputs, whatever they bring in, whether it is tangible or intangible, is producing, something that I can actually measure, in terms of profitability, in terms of satisfaction itself, or the management of just the efficiency of the employees to deliver results itself and create value that is adding to the business objectives over the time. So that's essentially the way I would look at it. But the keywords in what I've said over time this afternoon is about the value that you had into the business, especially with all the resources that you've been given over time.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Sir. It's quite clear now. Talking about what you have just said now, the value the individual is bringing on board, the employee is bringing on board, and, from the side of the management, seeing how they can help this employee, put this value into good use for the benefit of the organization, which is the productivity, and seeing good metrics to measure such value and such output for the good of the organization. Do you think from your experience in HR management, are there major differences in productivity management across different sectors? Do you think managing productivity in oil and gas is different from telecommunication, is different from financial sector? What do you think?
I mean, look, from my experience, it's still all about, again, when you tie it to workforce, it's still all about the workforce productivity itself. What would differ is what you are looking for. If you are essentially in, let's say, a telco business, you are probably measuring. Okay, so what do you measure? You are probably measuring your own value in terms of your customer satisfaction. Okay. If you are in the oil and gas industry, you probably be measuring, the output. If it's a manufacturing, it is the output. If you're running a school, it is about the results that, all your teachers, all the workforce that you have. When you want to look at the productivity and see whether all the workforce that you have put together is actually delivering results, you'll probably be looking at it from, okay, so how many of my kids are able to, the results in the IGCSE or WAEC or, NECO, what is the result coming in? So as long as you look at it from the fact that, it's still all about people, and also in addition to that, the technology, the resources that you're putting in, that is being used to turn into the value that you are creating in the workforce. That is what will just be the major differences. So that, because sometimes it's all about you, if companies are not doing similar jobs or in similar industry, trying to compare, the productivity of different companies will be difficult if they're not doing the same thing, or the strategy is different, because all of us can be looking at the same thing, but it may actually not really matter if I'm looking at a particular one instead of focusing on another thing. Because look at it, even if you measure something, what you are eventually looking for is you are measuring in order to improve or to be able to determine how efficient you are. So what is my own main issue that I want to focus on? So essentially it's the same thing when it comes to, I want to manage my workforce. What is probably going to be different is just the measurement. What are you really looking for to be able to determine whether you are good enough or not?
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think that is also quite clear. Okay, which brings me to the second question. The second question says, human resource remains a major asset of every organization. How best will an organization measure workforce productivity, and what are the key metrics?
Oh, yeah, look, okay, so we live in a world now where, most of the organization will probably be measuring their productivity every month, every quarter, so there's that essential element as to how do I measure how my people are actually being productive? And again, like I said just a little while ago, it depends on, what is my own critical elements that I actually wanted to see in what I measure. For instance, you can measure the productivity of your workforce against your revenue, which is always the common thing that organizations do. And so how much are we making? We're making 1 billion naira, but my cost of labor, the total cost of employment is 200 million. So how am I efficient? Do I want to measure it against what we did last year or what we are doing now? You could go down to even departments and start measuring the outputs. So how many people do I have in a particular department, let's say on a production line? And what is the output that they're bringing out from there? So different ways of measuring that. Some companies will measure it against the profitability of the business. So how profitable are we? They will measure it against the volume that is being sold. Let's say a salesman now, the sales force, what are they actually selling? So there are different ways that you can actually measure workforce productivity. But I think one of the things that is very, very critical that I need to point out is that, sometimes it's not just about the cost of the labor. It's actually about the labor input itself. For instance, there are some organizations which I've seen, where they will tell you and say, look, it's costing me 10 million naira, let's say, to produce 100,000 bottles. Now, if I can go and buy a machine that will maybe do a preform, okay, so I don't need to do my preform. I'm going to drop, maybe about 10 people that will reduce my cost to, let's say, 6 million naira. And when they now measure their productivity against, the total cost of the labor, which has gone down to 5 million naira, against what they are now getting in terms of production, which is still 100,000, okay? Now, when you look at that, you will say, look, you are being efficient in terms of labor. But meanwhile, your material cost has also gone up, okay? So where you now take that one as, okay, look, my people are now more productive. Actually, they're not more productive. What you have just done is just to shift the productivity to another place. So everybody all company owners have to be very, very careful that you need to use, a variety of factors to determine how productive you are, because every time you focus so much on workforce productivity and you are the owner and you're looking at, oh, we are too many, I want to retrench people, probably what you're doing is just shifting that cost to another place. Either the cost of capital, either the cost of materials that you are now using, because if you look at the cost of capital, you want to now bring an automated machine, based on the example that I gave, the preform, and then it costs you about, let's say, 100 million naira. What you've done is to shift the cost, not that you are now gaining just because you have reduced number of people. So having a single factor measure of productivity is always very, you need to be very careful there. And that's one of the dangers of saying, I want to measure workforce productivity. You need to be sure that all the elements that contribute to your output is being taken into consideration when you are measuring that.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think that's quite clear as well. So which brings me to the third question. And it says, as a successful people's manager, How does strategic workforce planning impact the productivity of an organization? How does strategic workforce planning impact the productivity of an organization? Is there a relationship between business strategy and people management? What's your take on this, sir?
Well, look, and I'm very sure, your the students, let's say my colleagues anyway, because I always like to read anyway, would have come through some of the researches that have been done by most of these research companies, where they say that, look, what worries most of the executives, one of the key things that worries them most is, the poor, the risk of not having sufficient leadership talents in the organization, or not even having talents in the organization as a whole. So do I have a sustainable business if at the end of the day, a particular person will be missing, and then I will need to stop production or the delivery of my business objectives? Even in organizations, when you do your risk management, one of the key things that always come up when we do risk assessment, in organizations that I've worked in is, the talent availability for all the business strategy initiatives that you want to have in the future. So if I'm working in, let's say, a telco now, I need to be conscious of the fact that, technology may change. Do I have the right level of engineers that will start thinking about 5G? Is because I've linked it to the business strategy. So when you start doing your strategic workforce planning, which is, like forecasting, like a planning process that leads to all your talent development or talent management initiatives, for you to ensure that, your business is actually, in a sustainable way. I'll give you a very good example of my former company. I mean, look, if I ask you today and I say, look, in the telco, what positions do you think are the most critical for the organization? Someone will probably tell me that is the engineers. You understand? But no, when you look at our business strategy, then you discover that it wasn't even the engineers. Yes, they're important, but they are not the most business critical roles in that organization. It's actually all those young guys, the old men and women and stuff on the streets that are selling those SIM cards. That is what was driving the value of that organization. And I tell you that this one for free. When I joined that organization, that was the most poorly managed set of employees in that organization. And what did we do? We just started looking at them differently, put them, under a management, a manpower agency, start, change their salaries, started training them, created a career path for them, and things just changed. The same set of numbers that were producing just about 600 customers, because they when you sell the SIM card, you make a customer, right? That were, bringing in about 600,000 customers every month, are now delivering 3 million customers. What the business did was to add about 100 of them to the numbers that they had then. You understand? But it's because there was, a strategic look at what is the most business critical roles that can affect the execution of my business strategy. Okay, and that was what the business did. Not just focusing on engineers, because the reality is that you can go and do the base stations, you can go and tweak the back end. If there are no customers, you're just wasting your time. So that is what strategic workforce planning brings. The ability for you to anticipate and plan for change. What is going to happen to me in the future in my business? Looking at your hiring strategy, looking at how do you manage, to bring in people, looking at how do you develop them? Who are the people that I need to focus my attention to? What are the skills gap that is there in the organization that we need to start addressing? How do I allocate talent? Who do I spend my money on? Those market developers, they call them market developers in Airtel. It cost us just $300,000 to change the way we manage them. And they brought in extra 2.4 million customers every month. That was, that was a success story then. But it's just because we sat down and look at what is that strategic set of people that we needed to start planning for. So I can't remember the second question is about
the relationship between business strategy and people management.
Okay, good. Now, look, again, business strategy is the first thing. You do your business strategy, you do your structure, then you go into your people management initiatives. Because without being able to what I call future the organization, it's like if you can't imagine the future, you're just wasting your time. You first of all, for you to create the future, you need to first of all be able to imagine it and say, look, this is my business. This is the kind of structure I want around my business. And this is the strategy. And then you now go into how do you bring people in? What's the strategic workforce planning that I wanted to do, which will probably lead to all your talent management initiatives. You need to do that one first, because if you don't question where you are now and also what you want to do in the future, it's difficult for you to just go ahead and start saying, no, okay, this is my talent acquisition plan. This is my employee engagement plan. This is my learning and development plan. You can't do that. You can't get any result until you have your business strategy. So what best and practice organizations will do is to say, look, what's our business strategy? And from there, you start linking your people management strategy to be able to drive the business strategy. You can, first of all, create your people management strategy. Let me tell you this one. You will not see Blockbuster. I'm very sure people knows Blockbusters. Blockbuster disappeared because Netflix came in. Blockbuster didn't disappear because of the failure of the people management strategy. Blockbuster disappeared because the business strategy failed. They failed to realize that, Netflix is the next thing to come. Kodak disappeared just because they didn't realize that things are changing. And the same thing that is happening now, I have, a very expensive camera now, which I've not touched in the past 1.5 years because my phone now is better than even my camera and it's more handy. So business strategy has to be created first. And then you can now start seeing what your people management strategy will be used to, deliver whatever you have on your business strategy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bemiga. I think you made quite a valid point, and using the example you mentioned, that's also quite interesting of what happened in one of the telecommunication companies, identifying the core role in that organization and trying to optimize it to increase productivity as well. So which brings me to the next question. And this question is actually talking about the building blocks of effective performance management. So it says, can you take us on a walk on the building blocks of effective performance management and how it affects business sustainability?
Fortunately, and one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my career is that I joined Lafarge, okay? And one of the things I've been preaching, for the past probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years is trying to get organizations to change their approach to performance management. Note that I use approach, I'm not using process because, in most organizations in the world, and it's not only in Nigeria, it's a performance management process, but I'm going to use an approach. Okay, so first of all, let's define what is the baseline that you're looking for, because things are changing now. I don't want to come and tell you, look, this is how you create performance management. One of the things that we've done in Lafarge is that we've just changed our performance management approach into the way we do things, and these are the baseline. First of all, work and performance will always occur in a team setting, not just an individual thing. You need to start taking it into consideration that, look, it's a teamwork, and you're going to now start measuring performance through, of course, you're not going to forget the individual part of it, but it's actually going to be a team setup. Feedback itself works if the employee themselves also wants to accept it. So you are now taking it back to the employee and saying that this is now your own. You own it now. You need to now own it. It's your responsibility to obtain your feedback. Ratings don't improve performance. In fact, ratings kill people. I've seen instances where, after performance reviews, already some people are already planning to leave an organization because they didn't have a better performance ratings from that particular company. So their mind is set up that, okay, maybe I need to leave this organization. And so you now start coming to that effect that, people need to own whatever they have. You need to own setting your performance standard. You need to own your career development. You need to own the feedback that is coming. So it's an approach. Now, the most critical set of things is that it's now changing into a conversation thing. It's not just about, I want to measure your performance. Look, I want to talk to you. I want to do a check-in with you. I want to have a check-in conversation at any particular time. I want to have a reward and recognition conversation with you. And I want to have a career conversation with you. You don't need to be a career expert to do all those things. You just need to show interest. If I call you and I just blab around asking you, about your plan, what do you want to do, where do you want to be, if that's a career conversation. So when you have that approach mindset, then you can now start talking about, okay, so how do I walk through, like you said, a performance management approach? First of all, you need to set objectives. Someone needs to define, okay, so what do you want to do this particular year as an organization? And then from there, all the functions start taking, a team objectives, and then you can start cascading this down to individuals. But you need to share that team objectives, with everybody. You need to put in, so how do I do reviews with people? How do I do the check-ins? How frequent is it going to be? Because what people just want is for you to give them the feedback. They don't want to wait to the end of the year before someone starts telling them that they've not performed. And it has to be employee-owned and driven. The only thing that you expect the line manager to do is for the line manager to create that enabling environment for the check-in to be done, for the feedback to be done. So if my employee wants to come and have a discussion with me, that's not when I'm going to be frowning my face and say I don't have time. So line managers have to create that environment for that to happen. Now, one of the beautiful things that is coming up is that, you are now not even, in Lafarge now, I can claim that happily, is that we are even removing ratings. We don't want to rate you. We just want to help you to grow. And in doing that, we are not tagging you with a particular rating and saying, oh, you are meeting expectation or you are exceeding expectation. No, I want to be able to describe you as a human being. Are you someone that I would love to work with? Are you someone that I'm happy to promote? Are you someone that I'm willing to take into my team? Are you someone that is ready for another role? Now I'm describing you as I see it, and I'm not just tagging you with you are rated 1, you are rated 2, you are rated 3. And the most important thing is that you need to measure the impact. What is that impact that that person is bringing into this business? Not that, oh, this guy can stay here from the morning to the afternoon, because that's also one of the problems. When people don't measure impact, what they do is to measure the effort. And, having an effort is something that is not bringing any result is a no-no. So with that, if you have that, it's a sure banker that, your productivity in the business will increase. Your employees will be more engaged, because what you've done is that you've separated all these issues about, oh, I need to get exceed expectation so that I can get more money. You are separating it totally. And it is a conversation about your career, about how I want to recognize you and how I want to see you grow in this business, rather than something that is becoming a process. Every year you need to sit down every time. No, you don't need to do any annual process again. Because if people are doing regular check-ins, let's say I'm doing a check-in with my employee every month, and I'm giving the right feedback, then it's going to be difficult for him to now start saying, no, I don't believe what you are giving me at the end of the year. Because even the difficult conversation, because you know at the time you need to get to that stage too. Are you having that difficult conversation too with your employee, so that there is no, you're not dodging any issue at the end of the year? What HR is just doing is just, you know, looking at all the notes that the two of you have taken throughout the year and arriving at a judgment as to who this person is and what contribution has he made into the business.
Thank you so much. That was quite elaborate, from the very moment of setting objectives, creating enabling environments for good feedback, and identifying different metrics. Thank you so much for that. And I believe employers, and both employees have learned a lot from your feedback and your response. Okay, so moving to the next question. This one talks about workforce productivity responsibility. And it says, whose responsibility is it to improve workforce productivity? And of course, if it's not a singular responsibility, what should be the input of various stakeholders in contributing to this workforce?
Okay, so now look, the obvious answer that you will probably expect is to say, yeah, that's the HR responsibility. You know, I worked in a company where if a particular function is not working very well, what the CEO does is, you know, in our ESCO meeting, I'm always sitting by his left. And, you know, when a particular, let's say, commercial is not doing well, he looks at me and said, and he will be shaking his head like, you know, I don't have talent here. Something is going wrong. As if, you know, HR must have the magic wand, you know, to ensure that, you know, productivity happens in the workplace. So, you know, throughout my stay there, I get blamed for everybody's failure, you know, sales not happening, you know, mistakes being made, you know, in the company. But it is not. And the reason is because, you know, organizations tend to treat people as children. Okay. We need to first of all get to the idea that, you know, we have adults. I didn't employ children. I employed adults. So one, the employee himself has the responsibility to improve on his performance and make sure that he delivers what he has promised to deliver. Because when I was employing you, I didn't ask you and say, look, you know, are you underage? Do you want me to train you for you to deliver? I employed you because I believe you have the right, you know, mindset and the quality and the, you know, the capability to actually deliver. So the employee himself has that responsibility. Of course, you know, it is for HR to create that enabling environment anyway. The line managers also have their own responsibilities, you know, because I always tell people, the first person that is the HR manager for the employee is actually the line manager. I shouldn't be hearing certain stories if your line manager, or if you have trusted your line manager to the extent that he should have addressed something anyway. Why are you coming to me? Have you talked to your line manager? You want me to sort out your job rotation issue? Have you shared that with your line manager? In actual fact, it's your line manager that should be saying that, maybe get this person is ready for another role. So the line manager has his own responsibility to do. HR, of course, to provide the enabling environment. The CEO, the owners, or the management leadership, you know, also have to be there. Because one, like I told you about the blockbuster, they can also mess up the business anyway. You know, sometimes even I've seen instances where you talk to employees and say, you know what, guys, this company is not making money. And the employees look at you and say, boss, it is not us. It's the leaders. They made wrong decisions. You know, we asked them. You know, so because they also bring in the strategy, even the investors. You know, because sometimes well, businesses just need input, more infusion of capital, infusion of funds, and it's not coming. And then so the business is not growing. And then you blame the workforce. No, it is the responsibility of everybody. The employee himself, of course, HR supporting, the line managers, the owners of the business, the CEO, the ESCO of the business, the investors. Everybody has to come together. HR will serve as a bridge to help everybody. But everybody needs to come together with the right strategy. And then, of course, the employee having the right, you know, mindset, the right engagement level to be able to deliver something. If you want to grow an organization, everybody It is their responsibility.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that's quite answered as well, from the employer down to investors, line managers, most especially the management. We all have key role to play to increase productivity. So it's not a singular responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility. Okay, so moving on to the next question here that talks about remote working. So this question says, in a world where remote working is the new normal, what strategies do you recommend for business owners and HR managers in managing the productivity of their workforce?
Okay, so again, I mean, look, so sometimes things work better for us. I've been in organizations where they've been reluctant to let working from home, working from other locations, work flexible working hours. Everybody says, no, we're not mature to do that. And I've been in organizations where by the time we wanted to introduce it, everybody bought into it because they believe that remote workers are naturally happy lots, okay, because it helps them in terms of the work-life balance, it helps them in terms of work-related stress and productivity increase. The studies have been done, to show that. But of course, this situation, this pandemic has also brought it into light anyway that, this is the best way to go. And we are definitely not going back to those ideas days where you're going to pack the whole office full of people again, so it's here to stay. But there's so many things, that you can now do because things are now coming up as to the difficulties of, remote working, which to me is going to be the better normal. Anyway, not just the new thing, because there's some organizations that have been doing it donkey years anyway. But even those organizations that have been doing it before, now that they are doing it in a massive way now, I've seen the necessary, reason for them to start building this up. Because one, for you to be able to increase collaboration, remember that one of the reasons why you want to see your employee in the office is because you believe that if I see you, I know you are working. If 5 of us are working together, I know that we are collaborating. So the effect of it is that, how do you now bring back that, especially when everybody is sitting in front of a laptop and you're not sure whether collaboration is working very well. In my own team, we started doing bi-weekly thing with my leadership team. You understand? And the reason, normally what we will have done is to just hold a weekly meeting anyway, but we increase it to 2 because we want to see more team collaborations happening. Okay, so you need to be able to manage that. You need to do team building activities, get people together, have, thank God it is Friday, thank God it is a quarter, you need to continue to do that one because that collaboration, you can't throw it away. If you want people to be more productive, and work together as a team, they need to continue to collaborate. I remember one of my line direct reports saying that, oh boss, you not talk to me for 2 days. And I laughed. And it is true. Because you know what? If we're in the office, I will have talked to her anyway because I will have been seeing her every day. But she was also worried that, this guy, is it that I'm not adding value? Okay, that's why he didn't bother to actually call me for 2 days or talk to me instead of just sending emails to me. So you need to increase collaboration and connectivity. And you need to also provide the playing field. Now, take it for instance, if you, as the CEO, is always at work in the office, everybody will start coming to work. In fact, even if they don't come to work, if they just sit at home, working from home, there's this anxiety that, hey, Jesus, I'm at home working. Meanwhile, this man, the CEO of this business, or my line manager, my director, or my line manager is actually in the office working. So why am I different? For you, it's because you need to remove all anxiety, and everybody knows that it is right for me to do this and stuff like that. And you need to start working on how do you do meetings. We are getting Zoom fatigue now, so you need to start planning for that, asking people, is it working for you? How's your line manager managing you? Because that's also another point. You need to be able to trust people to deliver. You can't, the days of micromanaging people have gone. But then people also need to come to the table so that, you are confident that they're actually delivering. I don't care whether you're on your bed working. The issue is that what is the output you are bringing out? What did I ask you to do and what have you done at the right time? So of course, there's some people that, even I've seen instances where they've advised that too much of, even looking at, putting on your video is also not really beneficial to people. You need to declare certain days as, okay, I don't want to see anybody's video, because most leaders believe that, including me at times anyway. I said, look, I want to see your face. Please, everybody, put on your video so that I know that you are concentrating when we are having meetings. But, sometimes it can also be difficult. So all those things needs to be removed from the way you now manage people. Do you do meetings? Do you encourage teams to get together on their own? Do you even give allowances, for the increase in the internet bandwidth that is now happening? There's a company that are not doing that now. Because you need to provide that enabling environment for your people to actually work together, And then the other one that I talked about is also, focus on output-based management. You have to, let people own their work. Let them do this work by themselves, instead of saying that, well, if I don't see you in the office, then that means you're not working. Or if I don't see you online, those things that we use in the office. I think it is mainly Microsoft and even Google itself, where you can show whether green or red or whether you're idle and stuff like that. There's some line managers that look at that every minute to see whether this person is actually at work or not, or doing anything. And we also need to be able to give assurance to those people that, you are working from home, it doesn't matter, and it's not going to affect your promotion as long as you deliver. Because there are some people that working from home, they're so anxious. They're so anxious as to whether this is the right model for me, or I should just go and sit at work and let my line manager see me face to face. Make sure they have the right tech and equipment to work, because you can't have someone that is going to be at home working and he or she is using an old laptop that is always crashing every time. It can be so frustrating, or you can't access the company's network, or your internet is always failing. You need to actually be careful about it. And most importantly, focus on how do you understand what is happening to those people. Are you checking up on them? And are you also, checking their pulse every time? Is your line manager treating you well? Are you managing? Is it working for you and stuff like that? Those are some of the things that is coming up now that is, that we need to start taking seriously so that we can start managing this remote working very well.
No, very well said, sir. You mentioned quite valid points, ensuring collaboration. You mentioned instances of increasing frequency of team building activities, getting delivery feedback from employees as well, focusing on output-based management, and welfareism and feedback as well, setting leadership examples. That I'm sure these key things you have mentioned are strategies that HR business owners can put in place to manage remote working for their employees. Okay, so moving on, next question talks about corporate culture. And this question says, how does corporate culture impact the productivity of an organization's workforce?
Okay, so I'm going to go, practical now as to, let me just share my experience when it comes to corporate culture. Now, look, it's about what organizations hold there that helps them to deliver. Okay, so there was one in my organization now before, about 1-2 years ago, we had this team, okay, for business planning, in terms of sales, logistics, guys, that comes together. But it's all about blame game. You understand? Oh, why didn't you do this one? Oh, production didn't do this and stuff like that. So you probably have about 3 hours meeting and it's all fight. Everybody pushing the blames everywhere and stuff like that. And then we now started thinking about how do we do things differently. And I'm just using as an example, that particular planning team. And we now started thinking about this and said, look, until we start improving the collaboration in this organization, we're never going anywhere. Okay, so we came up with what we call now one team, one direction. We call it Project One. Okay, and what it means is that we're going to empower you. We want you to feel proud of what you're doing. We want you to trust each other. We want everybody to be accountable. We want everybody to have the same commitment to the same result, because what do we want? We don't want everybody to have individual objectives now. So we just set a team objective and say, this is what we want to deliver. So it is not about production saying that, okay, we need to produce, let's say, 10 million tons of cement. No, we want to sell 5 million tons of cement. What it means is that logistics, production, HR, corporate communications, health and safety, everybody needs to come together, join with commercial in order to deliver that 5 million metric tons. And that's just what we did. And, people were empowered. So all the ESCO members stepped back from holding the meetings. Before, is the ESCO members that will lead the meeting, is the only one talking, backing out orders and saying, no, you guys didn't do it very well and stuff like that. So everybody stepped back. We sat at meetings, nobody talks again. It's the guys that are talking by themselves. So they trash out issues. They trust each other. No blame game. Don't blame everybody. Anybody. If you make mistakes, you understand, admit and correct it. And nobody is going to be punished because there was a mistake made yesterday or the mistake is going to be made today. If you have missed targets, make sure that you recover it. That's just it. That's the overarching objectives. And so you just leave it to them. And then people now started, talking about, and it becomes a buzzword. Even if you have your colleague that doesn't want to collaborate, you just tell him one team, one direction. Oh boy, fall into line. And that changed the productivity of the business, because everybody is so focused on only one thing and everybody is singing the same song. So if you're not aligning, people tells you and say, I don't think you know where you are. It's all about one team, one direction. Let's work together. And of course, it just didn't happen overnight. We did a campaign behind it. We wanted to embed it in the system. We talked about trust. We give examples of trust. We give example of a distrustful environment that we don't want. We did so many things. We talked about commitment. We talked about, what you call constructive conflict. I'm very sure you are familiar with when you're having meetings, when someone is going to tell you and say, when people started arguing, the normal thing that people say, and say, no, let's take it offline. No. Don't take it offline. Talk about it here now. Let's deal with it in front of everybody. You understand? Talk about it so that we can trash it. Because when you have constructive conflict, because you trust each other, it's very easy for you to get commitment. Because if you talk about it in front of everybody, trash out everything, everybody will get committed to the same result. So it's a very simple thing. And that's why, even if you go into any management book or any development book and stuff like that, they will tell you that, in an organization that people are not collaborating, you've set the platform for failure already. And there's no productivity in that business. If you have, you never sustain it because it's going to fall into the ground eventually. So I'm just giving an example of how you can use your corporate culture or norms to change the productivity of your organization. You need to hold a certain value there that will have a very huge impact on your business results, and then drive it so that people get used to it, embed it into the system, and then it's very easy for you to start moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that's very key, identifying one of the core values and driving it down to the employees to see where it has to strike them so they hold on to that value. And I like what you said, one team, one direction. That's quite intriguing. So moving on to the next question. This question is talking about, it says tailoring down to individuals. What skills make for an exceptional HR leader? And how can a mid-level manager position himself or herself for a higher role in a global brand?
Okay, so let me start by saying this. First of all, I always pride myself. I say, look, I'm not really an HR person. I'm actually, a business person, right? A business leader that finds myself in HR. Okay, so I want to talk about business. I want to learn about the business, because for you to have an impact, even as an HR person, you need to know the business. You need to know how your business makes money. You need to know how your business loses money. Without that, you're never going to contribute. You just be that person that they consider as, okay, he does HR admin for us, he pays salaries and stuff. You have to be able to contribute to the business. So the first thing is that you need to know the business. The second one is you need to know how to lead. So I'm not doing HR. I'm leading HR. And I set the direction, I set the strategy. I said, look, what? I've looked at it, I've looked at the big picture. This is the direction that we need to go to. I've seen what the business strategy is, and this is the best way to actualize this. I want to identify talents. I want to delegate responsibility. I want to, hold individuals accountable. I want to give feedback to people. I want to help them to grow. So I lead the HR function, and of course, provide leadership for the organization as a whole. But I'm not doing HR, so you need to know how to lead, okay? You also need to know people. Now, what do I mean by knowing people? Look, an HR person that doesn't have emotional intelligence is a failure from the beginning, So you need to know what is human nature and the implications for decisions, even in groups, in teams and stuff. Imagine, look at even your exco, your executive committee. They are made up of people that are so proud of themselves anyway. Okay, don't worry, I'm just making a joke. But you bring people together. Yeah, they believe that they've done this, donkey years. They know what they're doing. They are highly successful individuals, highly ambitious people. So even just managing those people alone, the group dynamics in your executive committee is a huge thing. So you need to know, and the same thing, even in your own department, your own leadership team, in your own function. They also, probably accomplished individuals that have experiences everywhere, and they're also ambitious. They also want to do certain things. So there's so many landmines that are there, that you need to know how to actually be able to navigate and play, what works. When do I get angry? When do I keep quiet? When do I put my feet down? When do I intervene? When do I ignore people that are doing certain things? So you need to basically know people. How do I get people how do I treat people, without playing magic on people? How do I get the best out of people? And of course, most importantly is that you need to know yourself. What value do I hold? Am I a man of integrity? I'm just, I want to, I don't value integrity, but I want to be punishing people for running foul of integrity. What value do I hold, and why do I hold them? Do I have courage? There was something that I read sometimes that was talking about, it is not the absence of fear, that is courage, but courage is actually defined as the willingness to do what is right in the presence of fear. So because everywhere there's fear, I fear certain things. But when you are courageous is when you are willing to do things that is right, even when there is fear, when you have doubt, when people are challenging you. It is that you need to know yourself as to, who am I? Can I do this? Look, and of course, as an HR leader, you need to value people. Look, I tell people, I don't, not that I don't like people, I just value them. I value what they bring. I'm more interested in how people grow. I want to see people as human beings, and not just like, a tool, an head count that I need to tweak somehow. So you need, when you know people, you also need to, value them, be more interested in how they grow within the business. A real HR leader would be happy to see his people that have worked with him, people that he has coached or mentored, everywhere in the environment, in the system. You understand, either in this country or all over the world, that are actually growing. So know the business, know yourself, know how to lead, know people is very, very essential to work as an HR leader.
Thank you very much, sir. Wow, wow, wow. I've learned a lot in just that short explanation you gave. So executive students, you can kindly prepare for your questions. If you have one or two questions, we'd like to take one or two questions from our students here, or attendees here. Let's just see you. You can type in the chat box, and let's move on for them. So Mr. Gbemiga, you've said quite a lot this afternoon. I must thank you again. It's been very insightful. I've personally learned a lot of things, and I'm sure most HR professionals out there have also learned one or two things. My personal question goes, as regards the working remotely, that, it's a new thing now. Like you said, it's a better thing. It's no more new. Okay, and you mentioned something about people becoming Zoom fatigue these days. And we have organizations that, they've been in this space of working remotely for almost a year now, if not up to a year. And they've not even stepped in the premises of the office environment. And, some of the feedback you get from employers is on ending meetings, Zoom meetings, and it's just too much of meetings that sometimes they even feel these meetings affect productivity and they are not good measurement tools. How do you think, HR professionals can, create that balance in not tending to want to micromanage these employees, giving enough time for them to, work by themselves and not have too much of meetings? I don't know, what's your take on this?
Like you said, HR. There's this philosophy of one of the groups that I belong to, HR Disruptive Club, and one of the philosophy, the framework of that club is the fact that, we need to treat people with adults, like adults, and all those policies that you put in is like, you have children growing up, you now start prescribing, no, you can't touch that, you can't go there, you need to tell me when you want to sleep or you want to go out and stuff. You need to treat people like as adults, okay? And that is why, all those things that are happening now in what we call the better normal, we also create its own problem. But the main thing is about how do we, make it better, okay? So for instance, Zoom fatigue, okay? Too many meetings. Do you want to start releasing tips to people? Because people don't know. You need to create that awareness in the business for both employees and line managers. And please don't go and write to the line manager and say, look, put it into the open, internal comms, tips about, remote working. Let people be aware. You understand that, you're not gaining anything. And it's not just about bullet point as to do not micromanage. You also need to explain why micromanaging will not work, especially in this situation. You understand? You need to give people all those tips. Just about 2 weeks ago, one of my my colleagues was saying that, we need to have, a non-meeting day. You understand? A day that will declare and say, no calls, no video calls, no meetings. You understand? Because people are, I mean, look, sometimes I as I'm sitting here, I've been on this chair since 8 a.m. And thank God that, I'm using a wristwatch that brings me at sometimes to say, okay, stand up. So I set objectives for myself as to standing up. But I know some people that, they are back to back. Even setting up meetings, what people do is just to go into your diary, they look for a space there, and then they put it there. And at the end of the day, you look at it, 8 to 6, back to back. They are not even giving you any opportunity for lunch or for a break. So how do we manage that? How do we give people tips on how to set meetings, how to, block your calendars for your own time so that people don't intrude into it? How do you reduce meetings? I was reading something about a month ago about an organization, I don't think it's Google or something, where they've reduced the meeting times on Google Meet to 18 minutes because they did a study and said, look, when do people start losing interest in meetings? 18 minutes. No meetings should be more than 18 minutes. Let's move on. Okay. So it's you need to continue to give the tips. so that it can get better. And of course, check the pulse of people as to what is working. Because there's some people that, you want to say, look, I don't want to have meetings with you for more than 2 or 3 times in a week. And of course they say, oh, maybe he doesn't value my my input. That's why he doesn't want to meet me. So you need to check what is actually real, what is good for people, and make it better. And you have to be flexible anyway. In this world, what you call the VUCA world, being nimble, being flexible, being agile, and removing bureaucracy is what leads to productivity in the workplace. So we need to be able to change. Even if they say, look, hold meetings, you need to change. If it's not working, do something to change.
Thank you very much. I think that has answered my own question personally. The flexibility part is key. Giving tips to, how to hold meetings is also very key. So we have a question here for you, sir. It's from Mr. Kevin. Mr. Kevin is saying, how can we use the WAIFM approach, that's the what's in it for me approach, to increase employee productivity?
Look, we're talking about something today in my company, because we're launching our employee value proposition. Everybody has to have that connection. But for you to, okay, so, it's like a boy meets girl thing, okay? What is that connection? What connects me to that person? Where is that thing? Where is that value that I hold there that I'm seeing in another person? Okay. So for instance, if I'm very passionate about charitable work, okay, and I join an organization that has nothing, not interested in, giving back to the community, they're not interested in all these sustainable goals and stuff like that, there's something wrong, you understand? Because my value is essentially different from the values of that particular organization. So you need to be able to get what is that thing that drives or attracts that individual to me. What is in it for me? I joined this company. What do I want to achieve? Is this company set up to, help me to achieve my own goal? That is where you get, okay, what is in it for me? I'm working in an organization. In the next 5 years, this is where I want to be. But the structure of this organization, the talent management practices of this organization, does it fly with me? Would it deliver that thing to me in the next 5 years? If it's not going to be, you have to leave. It's like, and sorry for my Muslim colleagues or listeners, in some churches, they will tell you that, if you attend this church and in 3 months' time, you don't see any changes in your life, maybe this is not the best church for you. You need to get that connection, right? The values has to connect for you to start improving if I know that, I like touching people's lives, my organization is spending money behind that, then I want to do well. I want to produce more. I want to be more productive so that that organization is successful to put in more money into such things that I value.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope this answers your question, Mr. Kevin. Mr. Kevin is the partner operations for Pan Ocean Oil. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Kevin. Thanks for joining us. We have another one from Mr. Yemi Awodipe. Mr. Yemi is asking, now, what is the difference between strategic management and strategic planning?
I should ask all the Rome professors to answer that. Strategic management. Again, look, I mean, look, you know what? Let me look at it this way, and you need to look at it whether you want to go operational or you are going either way. Look, when you talk about strategic moves, it's about being able to forecast and see the future. I talked about futuring. Okay, if you can't imagine something, you can't create the next future. So whether it is about management or whether it is about planning, you are taking a step back to say, look, how do I see the future? And then you start moving from, breaking it down into, the key action plans, whether it is on the management side or the planning side. The management side, maybe, you want to start executing things. But first of all, you need to plan anyway and be able to do something. But in a strategic way, is the fact that you step back and look at all your resources, all your objectives, all the capital, the investments, the people, resources, and stuff. You bring everything together and say, look, this is my future. And this is where I see our business going through. And then you now start breaking it down. I don't know whether I because that is for the professors to start.
Yes. I think you did a bit of justice to that question. Thank you very much, sir. So executive students, if you still have questions, I would like to take 1 or 2 questions before we wrap up. So I want to take this little question again from Mr. Emmanuel, and he's saying that, what is your advice for a mid-level manager who happens to find himself in a toxic work environment and has signed a non-compete form? He has now found a new opportunity in the same industry. What should he or she do?
It should go. It should go. I'm telling you, it should go. Look, you know what? In Nigeria today, and this is, you know what? I don't know how the lawyer said this word, confirmed judgment, right? Let me use confirmed judgment. Non-compete, you go to National Industrial Court, they will throw it out. You're a mid-level manager, they will throw it out. You can't, this is not slave trade. Non-compete agreement doesn't work unless you are doing a particular thing that that company can prove to the court and says that based on your level, based on your internal knowledge of our operations, based on your knowledge of our secrets, letting you go to that competition is going to cause us significant and irreparable loss, or else they will throw it out. Believe me, even if they take you to court, tell your lawyer, they know they will lose. Non-binding, non-compete agreement has no value nowadays unless it's a very top official that has the most secret information about that organization. Why organizations still continue to do it and put a non-compete clause there is to put that fear in you that please don't move. Even in terms of geography, people are challenging it. For instance, if I work for a company in Nigeria and I sign a non-compete agreement and I want to go to Ghana to go and work for another competition, you can't hold me back. And these are confirmed judgments from the National Industrial Court. You can move. It's like, sorry to take you back a bit. It's like when we do management trainings, right? And then we do graduate trainings and we say, look, because we have trained you for 2 years, you can't leave because we are putting you in a bond. No, it won't fly. The court has said that there's no slavery. Everybody is free to do whatever they like. But companies still do it anyway, just to make sure that you don't leave, but they can't enforce it.
Wow, that's such an eye-opening thing to hear from you, sir. I'm sure, like you said, a lot of people are still, holding to this non-compete. I'm sure industries are also just, managers, CEOs are also trying to play safe by putting this non-compete forms and clauses in contracts they give to their employees.
Yeah, but sorry, Tomilola. What I'm saying is that you can't put it for all levels. If
exactly.
You put it for your ESCO, I understand, or someone, doing a very key role in your organization, but you can't put a non-compete clause for, every level, every strata of your employees. It won't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree with you on that, sir. Okay, so we'll just like to take 1 or 2 more questions and we'll wrap up for today. Thank you very much. So this question is coming from Mr. Tunde A, and it says, what's the best way to manage poor performing staff, especially when he gets support from some senior leaders in the organization? I'm sure there's a bit of some, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, look.
I don't know if you're.
Sorry?
Do you understand the question? It says, what's the best way to manage poor performing staff, especially when he gets support from some senior leaders in that organization?
You see, okay, good. You remember Tobilola, that question that you asked as to who is responsible for improving productivity in the workplace. You remember that I mentioned even the leaders themselves. Look, and this is a reality because there's no explanation that you can ever read in even the management books anyway, or in the business school as to what happens. Look, in my own experience, it's about you being very sure of your facts, okay, and being able to document some of these problems that you are getting from this poor performance. Even if the senior leaders tolerate this particular person for whatever reason, at the end of the day, it will get to a stage that they are going to step back and say, sorry, you know what? They have evidence against you. You're also not performing. But not 100% will it happen. Because, if you work for a one-man business and his cousin is a poor performer and the man knows what is going to happen to him at home, where you start saying that, okay, have I sacked this person? No, you can't sack, it's your family member and stuff like that. That one is different. But if you work in a structured organization, even if the senior leaders like this person and they are protecting, by the time you continuously, bring up the facts as to why this person is not delivering, and it is not because, there's no witch hunting, you are treating this person the same way you are treating other people, it will get to a stage where they are going to say, you know what, enough is enough, this guy has to go. I've worked in places where, I've seen the friend of my CEO, stand messing up in terms of performance. And at the end of the day, the CEO has to say, yes, you know what, I like you, you're my friend, we went to the same school, I'm opportune to be the CEO, but you're not delivering, you have to go. Or else, someone is also going to sack me. But it's because the line manager of this person was able to articulate, what is wrong and all the support that they've given to that individual for him to improve. And if the guy doesn't improve, what do you do? At the end of the day, someone is going to take that decision and say, look, before you kill this company, you need to go.
Thank you so much. I think that has answered the question. Also, understanding your employers, understanding the political environment and where you work as well will go a long way in knowing how to handle such situation. It's really been an exciting time with you, Mr. Oluwagbemiga Owolabi. Thank you so much for sharing a lot of experience with game. So on a final note, sir, I don't know, what advice do you have for Rome Business School students and alumni in managing diverse workforce? What are your last words for us, sir?
Look, no, okay, so we all know anyway that a diverse workforce is also improves productivity. I mean, it's known, studies have been shown on that anyway. But I think what you need to do is to ensure that the diversity and inclusiveness, and please always put inclusiveness there, okay? Because there's no reason for you to have a diverse workforce and they don't feel that inclusiveness within them. And you just say, okay, I have more women, I have 45% women. No, do they feel comfortable? Do they really feel authentic being in that organization? Can they define themselves as, yes, I'm a woman, I'm here to thrive? And it is not, you're not creating that, that color and saying, because you're a woman, that is why you're getting this. You need to put that, the diversity and inclusiveness in the employee life experience within your organization. It has to cover everything from the beginning. How do you attract, when they come in, onboarding them, learning and development, engaging them, even till when they exit from the business. You have to make it, very, very critical as, part of your employee life cycle. And you need to also, create that enabling policies, systems that will promote diversity, create more choices for people, remote working, flexible working hours, maternity, paternity, opportunity to share and hear, the, issues about diversity and inclusiveness, because sometimes when we don't talk about it, there are actually unconscious biases already against, women in the workplace. So do we talk about it? Do you put nudges, to people? I'm just sitting there and, it pops up on my company's screensaver saying that it's something about, diversity, so that I can remember and not forget. When you are shortlisting people, do you make it mandatory that they must have a diverse shortlist? When you are interviewing people, is it only made up of men or women, you understand, that are looking for their own likes? Or you've made it possible that, every interview panel must have a female there, in order to be able to show that, people are not using that unconscious biases, to take decisions. Is your leadership, practicing felt leadership, talking about the need to build women, the need for, gender equality in the workplace. How do we develop? Talking about them, creating the enabling environment for them to be able to come together and share ideas, thoughts, be coached and mentored within the organization or even externally, So you need to be able to, and it doesn't need to be expensive. It's all those little things that you do. For instance, people talk about if you, this is because I've seen it in some company that it still happens, where they tell you that and say, look, if you're on 12 weeks maternity leave and it is the same year, you can't take your annual leave. Sorry, what is that? What is that? I don't understand. So because you're not punishing me because I got pregnant, and that is why I can't take my annual leave, or because you have gone to have baby, then you forfeit your annual leave during that particular year. Those are the little things, behavioral policy issues that you need to continue to remove in the workplace. And then, of course, create that enabling environment, for people to share new ideas, collaboration, create trust in the workforce, so that we are diverse, but we need to tap on that diversity in your organization. I think that would just be what I would advise, when you want to manage a diverse workforce. And very importantly, most companies have, branches, plants all over the country. You also, and that's why I brought in inclusiveness. You have to be very careful. Is the man in Kano, does he want to come down to Lagos and come and work? If he comes down to Lagos and come and work, does he feel inclusive? You need to be very careful and be looking for those things, that are actually showing, or, unconsciously, that your organization is not being inclusive or is not being diverse enough. You need to check the data. You need to ensure that, because your company head office is based in Lagos, it is not 99% Yoruba. And even though you are a national, a national company, so to speak, all those little things are things that you need to continue to watch. Use data to check. Have you checked whether, even in your organization, the men are not being paid higher than the female doing the same role in your organization? Have you checked? You'll be surprised when you look and discover that actually we tend to reward men more than female. And when there are opportunities for growth, we tend to pick men because we think that, oh, a woman cannot do that. Oh, we need to be conscious that she can't be traveling around the whole country. Who says that? Who says women cannot do that? So it's all these little things that you need to continue to work out and make sure that your diversity and inclusiveness program works for the better.
Thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. Thank you for our HR professionals in the house. I'm sure they found out very, 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 very important for their employees. Inclusiveness. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Benga Wolabi. It was really nice having you. And we're wrapping up right now. And I'd like to call on Mrs. Hannah, if Mrs. Hannah is here to take the closing remark on behalf of our country director. Is Mrs. Hannah here? Hello, Mrs. Hannah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Ada.
Good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Lola. Yes.
Oh, good afternoon. Okay. Hi, Tommy. Good afternoon. I'm here.
Okay, we can
you hear
you.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, Doctor. And good afternoon, Mr. Olabi and my fellow alumni and Rome Business School. It's really been an insightful moment. I've really enjoyed every bit of this session today with Mr. Olabi. I want to say thank you so much on behalf of the country director of Rome Business School, the entire students of Rome Business School, and the alumni. We say thank you so much for coming out to give us this wonderful exposition on workforce productivity management. I know as we go back to our various organizations, we're going to apply what we have learned from you today. And we want to say thank you so much for finding out time to share your experience with us. Have a beautiful day, sir, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Good to be here, and I hope we had a very good time together. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much so much, sir. Let's unmute. A big thank you to Mr. Olabi, Rome Business School student.
Thank you, Mr. Olabi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Olabi.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Thank you. God bless
Thank you, Mr.
sir.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Olabi. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Well done, sir.